Welcome to Life Mastered, the podcast, where high achievers and ambitious souls come for the kind of support that fuels both inner growth and outer strength. This is your space for real tools and deep truths, for meeting life's greatest challenges with grace, resilience, and self-connection, and also expanding into your next level of purpose. I'm Molly Claire, your host, master coach, mentor, and guide, because life mastery is not about checking boxes. It's about how you meet yourself in every moment along the way. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I can hardly believe that today's podcast is actually happening. I interviewed Phillip Andrew, the Abundance Alchemist, and you're going to get to hear this interview on today's episode. I absolutely love his work. I'm a huge fan. If you don't follow him on Instagram yet, you absolutely have to. And I've had a couple of private calls with him as well, and he's just phenomenal at what he does. And one of my favorite things about my conversation with Phillip and the other times that I've spoken with him is just how genuine he is. I love the heart he has for this work, and I just cannot wait for you to hear this week's episode. Before we dive in, a couple things I want to make sure you know about. I've got a fantastic Black Friday offer. The Master Your Coaching Intensive, which is a $400 program, is on sale for $47. And it's not going to be an extended thing. It's not going into next week. So listen, if you want this 4-part workshop where you're going to learn more about the mind, emotions, the nervous system, and action strategies, and I'm talking about advanced workshops here, definitely go check it out. Go to mollyclaire.com or check it in the show notes and get access today. You can dive right in and start becoming a better coach immediately. So make sure to check that out. Also, please note that if you are interested in master coach training, specifically holistic master coach training and certification for January, check it out now. I am accepting applications, and you can be a part of something fantastic as you build your skills and truly build your ability to cultivate lasting change in your clients. You can check it out at mollyclaire.com, and I hope to see you on a live training call very soon. All right, let's go ahead and dive in to this incredible conversation with the Abundance Alchemist. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am about today's conversation. I have Phillip Andrew, the Abundance Alchemist, and his work is incredible. It has a profound impact on me every time I get to be a part of it, and I just am so honored to have you here. So, Phillip, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Molly. It's my absolute pleasure, of course, and it's always great to share these conversations and get this message out to your platform. So, thanks for having me on. It means a lot.
Yeah. It's and will you tell my audience a little about you if they're not familiar?
Yeah, so I didn't arrive. I guess I would be defined as a spiritual entrepreneur. So I show people how to create better outcomes in every area of their lives. And I truly arrived at this level of understanding through complete chaos in my life in different sort of iterations and incarnations of that. So I have a background as an entrepreneur. I had very successful businesses that collapsed. And I've always been very focused on improving myself, understanding more about what this is, who we are, how we can all create better outcomes for ourselves and in turn doing that for each other. And of course, I set up the Abundance Alchemist platform a number of years ago. And I think cross-platform now we have over a million followers, and that grows substantially every day. So we're immensely proud of that. And it's just really helping people to understand that there's a new game in town now where people can have the ability to create the life that they dream of. There's no barriers to that now if you understand how to, I guess, hack into the quantum codes to achieve that. So my life's mission and crusade is to help people understand more about truly how powerful and amazing they are, so they can immediately start to create a better life for themselves. And that's really
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
mission.
Yeah. I love it. And as you were talking, the thing that really just has stuck with me through all of this that you said is the chaos that it came from and that messiness. And I think, I mean, truly, um, as we talk about life mastery, sometimes we think about, right, checking boxes or this, achievement. And truly I can say, personally, and from those that I have met who are the most gifted healers, leaders who truly are doing deeply important work. We've had some pretty chaotic messes that, that we may even feel ashamed about or embarrassed about, and things
For
that we
sure.
really didn't know how to handle. And so I think that's worth pointing out because, everyone listening, all of you have different things you're facing and different ways you feel like a disaster or you think you're a mess, or we make all of these things mean so much about what's possible for us. And so I just want to highlight that because truly when we say the messy middle or something beautiful comes from a mess, it's true.
Yeah, it's really true. And one of the biggest lessons I certainly learned from those processes, even with smaller things to some of the biggest things we face in our lives, it's understanding that no matter how painful a situation is or how difficult it seems to be to navigate it or whatever you're going through, that if you can start to understand that this is all part of a greater evolution, both for yourself and the collective, and almost lean into this certainty that no matter what I'm facing now, having certainty that it's all meant for me, that it's all happening for me. And
Mhm.
just almost reframing it to that level of understanding is a great first step with that, because
Mhm.
all the problems we've all ever had felt insurmountable. All of the challenges we've all ever faced felt like they were never going to go away and we could never move through them. Yet it's almost most of the issues and challenges we face, it's almost at this point of sheer desperation and surrender where we say, enough is, I can't deal with this anymore. This is too much. I can't handle it. That's when the situations resolve. Um, and I always say to my students, well, if you're interested in this sort of work, and I guess the listeners of this podcast most definitely will be, well, you either have 0% faith or 100% faith in God, divine, universe, quantum consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So
Mhm.
if you have 100% faith, therefore just move forward with that in your heart
Mhm.
and lose the fear and just say, well, I don't know why this is happening to me. I don't know why I'm in this situation. But I do know that this is all working out. And the first way I think is the most powerful way, we may talk about this later in the conversation, is a lot of the general public and collective, through no fault of our own, we sort of have this um, instinct that victimhood equals resolution to our problems.
Mhm.
So if I can worry about my circumstances enough or fret about them or get sympathy from other people, which we were taught at a very young age, then that will be the seed of the solution to it. But actually, another thing within there is if you can take 100% responsibility for how you feel, then that's going to create a massive shift very quickly. So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what's happening around me. It doesn't matter who's doing what situation I'm facing, how big it is, how bad it seems on the surface. But if I can take 100% responsibility for how I feel and 100% acceptance for what is, then this sort of field of awareness and consciousness will start to bend itself to my will because I am fully showing up for myself in that energy. And then these little things called
Mhm.
miracles start to happen from that
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
But that's the key
And
first thing.
yeah, and I want to add something to this because what I know is that many of you listening do this or have done this, and I know that I have done this as well. And that is we can take this idea of taking full responsibility and we take it in a way where we believe where we are blaming ourselves for our emotions, where we are faulting ourselves for what we are doing. It's almost like we I think that we can sometimes think about taking full responsibility for our emotions as looking at where is this all my fault, or where do I need to fix these feelings or what I'm doing. And so this is why I want to speak to this, because especially in this world where we're immersed in self-help, and we hear this all the time, right? Taking responsibility for our life, taking responsibility for our emotions. And what I will say is, as someone who typically, has gone to a lot of self blame in my life, um, the way that I really think about, taking ownership of my emotions is understanding that my emotions are mine, that they are within me, and when I can take the time to care about my emotions and be with them and understand them and work with them, that is when I am taking ownership of those emotions. So I don't know if that's making sense outwardly as I'm saying that, but I think it's a really important thing to point out, because if any of you are blaming yourself for your feelings or taking it in that direction, it's definitely missing the mark on what's actually possible here, I think, when it comes to taking responsibility for our feelings.
Yeah, 100%. And what's more, this might be slightly controversial. This is kind of why traditional therapy, for the most part, doesn't work for people. Why? Well, my opinion is that we live in a quantum universe, and we have this human brain we always thought was like a storage device. It was like a storage container for all of the thoughts, feelings, emotions, experiences, and all these things now, our brains are principally useless at remembering things. Like if I ask any of your listeners to say what they had for dinner 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night, they absolutely no idea. But you are supposed to remember every single bit of trauma, pain, hurt, and emotion that you've ever been through, rationalize that, compartmentalize that, deal with that, process that, and then project that into the reality that you're experiencing now. As what I say to people in all of my work is, the story doesn't matter. Why you feel the way you feel has no basis in reality. The deepest trauma you're carrying could be about somebody taking an ice cream off you when you were 7, not about that abuse you suffered or the things you went through or the challenges you face. So when we understand that, well, okay, so then we understand, as a byproduct of that, that my self-concept is everything. So how I feel about myself is everything. The highest form of abuse in society is abuse of self, people abusing themselves about how they feel about
100%.
themselves, the fears they have, the regret they have, the suffering they've had. So this is really about saying, well, the story doesn't matter. What happened before is completely irrelevant. It has no basis in reality. It was an event that only defines me if I decide they're the conditions I hold on to, which are then called belief systems, which then project outwardly for every single energetic exchange you have with everyone about everything. Be that about your job, your career, your wealth, your life, your money, your situationships, your marriage, your children's relationship with your children. So the first thing to do is completely reject how you feel about yourself and the situations you've been through and the things that you've had to navigate, because holding on to those things often, where is the secret payoff of holding on to those things? Is it born out of my ego? Do I like the fact that I'm defined by the negative experience I have on some level? Am I liking the fact I can still get attention for things that happen to me? And am I holding on to the essence of the energy of those things? Because we just do. That's the human condition. Because the ego likes to keep us trapped in victimhood because it equals safety. So this is the crux of it. Everything that happened in your life to this point was supposed to happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. And if you can start to liberate yourself with that as a fundamental basis of your truth, you will make more progress in 30 days than you have in 10 years.
Hmm. And as you're talking about this, we can all think of the story we have about our life, right? What was hard about it? What about it is just the reason that we are the way we are today, or the reason why we are or are not capable of something? I think that when we think about that, first of all, I want to point out that word you used, which is safety. It makes plenty of sense that we would want to cling to that because, of course, we all want to feel safe. So we don't have to have judgment about that. We want to feel safe. And I think that when we can bring ourselves into this gentle awareness and this realization truly that that story that maybe served us at one time because it helped us make sense of things or whatever it is, if we are stuck with that story, we often are experiencing stuckness right now. Stuckness now today in not really being able to shift what we really want for ourselves. And that's the big problem. I mean, that's one of the big problems with it, right?
100%. And moreover, you have to really think about it this way. Most people want to improve their lives. They want to have an amazing life. And we're all held back by our limitations. And the only limitations we have are those limitations that we set for ourselves in terms of who we believe we are. And there might be some people saying, well, what about people who are born in bad conditions or severely disabled or these things? And these are polarizing topics. But you will
Mhm.
see even out there on stages with thousands of people. There's a guy in America, the guy's got no arms and no legs, and he's a motivational speaker. He moves millions of people. He's an incredible guy.
Mhm.
So that's not what I'm getting at here. It's not what this is all about. People who have near-death experiences or amputations, profound experiences, they get these amazing like surges in life and success and wholeness based on those experiences. So this is not what this is about. We're all held back by the limitations we create for ourselves in our minds. And that usually is because we're trying to conform to things that we think we should conform to about who we're supposed to be,
Mhm.
about the path we're supposed to take, about how we're supposed to be outwardly perceived. That's a big one.
Mhm.
So really all the I guess the self-concept work where we're shedding that which we are not by trying, but by letting go of the stories, that really is the birth of authenticity within us. And that's when authenticity starts to become a very powerful tool for us, not as a consequence of that which we try and do, but as a consequence of that which we become because of the energy that brings us into. So if you
Mhm.
want to take this a bit sort of like science meets spirituality, there's an institution called the Heart Math Institute, which I'm sure lots of your followers will know about and you'll know about. And your heart is emitting a frequency between a meter to 7 meters at all times to the world, wherever
Mhm.
you are, whether you're in
Mhm.
the school, the
Mhm.
supermarket, work, the shop, whatever.
Mhm.
And most people's frequency that's being pumped out there on a regular basis is I'm worried about this. I'm stressed about my kids. I'm worried about my finances. What if this goes wrong? What if that happens? I'm not good enough. What if I can't hold this? What if this happens? What if there's another war? What if there's another pandemic? And that energy is the communication device that you have with reality. So this is why if you want to become like a head and shoulders above anyone else around you, energetically, spiritually, successfully, you have to regulate your nervous system and bring yourself into calm, loving awareness of just this neutrality of whatever's going on around me, it doesn't matter. The only thing I have to do is feel good in myself in this moment. So, really becoming enlightened or ascended or raising your consciousness is literally about how you feel moment to moment, because that then becomes the frequency you emit to the field. And then the field will reflect back the frequency of how you feel.
Mhm.
And it's really simple. People over, you don't need more books, seminars, retreats, teachers, mantras, mudras, crystals in different parts of your clothing. You just need to feel good in this moment. So I'd say to all your listeners right now, just resolve to yourself, what am I doing to feel good in this moment? If something's not making me feel good, And if it's not making me feel good, what can I do just in this moment to feel okay? Could it be a cup of tea? Could it be listening to a podcast? Could it be just going for a walk? You don't have to resolve everything in this grand macro vision for what you want your future to be. You just have to feel okay in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next moment, and then the next moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then this magic will start to happen around you based on that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it almost sometimes seems too simple. And I think it contradicts what many of us have believed and been taught. For sure, right?
Mm,
It seems, in fact, it may seem like bad advice to someone who's thinking, no, you need to have a plan, you need to have a strategy, you need to always be in that next moment, in that future. And this isn't to say that connecting with that future, having a vision, isn't a value, right? It's not that, but it is. I mean, I'd be curious to know your, obviously your take on this, but I can say for me that what you're speaking to is exactly what I've been working with within myself and being with the moments
mm.
and trusting myself to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got this hidden crisis happening, and it's been happening for a long time. And interestingly, people intuitively are aware and understand what they need to do to bring themselves into regulation and into authenticity. So I'll give you an example. So we think that the world is suffering from, I guess, burnout, anxiety, lack of purpose, divisiveness, hatred, all these things that are happening in our world that are very polarizing at the moment. But underneath all of this is one root issue, which is dysregulated nervous systems collectively. And the reason I say that people understand this intuitively and they understand they've got to do something about this is that people to cope being the operative word with this, go to things like yoga, Pilates. They pick up things like meditation. They realize walking in nature. But the fundamental basis of most people doing those practices is, well, I have this life. It's incredibly stressful. I don't particularly like it. It's not that fulfilling. So what I do when I'm not living that life is I have practices that allow me to cope with that life. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is that 100% of the time, no matter what situation you're in, you should be learning to regulate your nervous system
Mm-hmm.
at
Mm-hmm.
work, in your job, because that is not to cope to bring you back into some sort of normality so you can survive. It will start to allow better outcomes to show up for you based on
Mm-hmm.
regulating your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're stuck in this fight, flight, freeze all the time, you cannot access creativity, intuition, abundance. The body will literally close the gates on you. It's not possible. So really and truly, what I'm saying is okay, so we've understood a world of sort of manifestation where it's about vision boards and affirmations and visualizations. Whereas what I'm saying is that your creative flow, your ambition, your authenticity, your purpose cannot be born to you while your nervous system is dysregulated.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm sort of trying to say is the societal prescriptions are more information, more productivity hacks, more mindset work, more therapy, doing your yoga and your 5 a.m. starts and your cold plunges, and they're all great. But there is a spiral effect if you don't understand this at a fundamental basis, and that is that dysregulation in your body fuels addiction, overwork, relationship conflicts, financial chaos. It fuels it. And when you try and become more spiritual or more abundant or more free or more happy, you will just overlay that structure, that operational system to the new way of living, and it will be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So nervous system regulation is going to become enormous, and it already is. You'll start to see
Mm-hmm.
that becoming enormous.
Mm-hmm.
But it's creating these non-negotiables for your life where my happiness and my calmness and my me feeling okay is the number one non-negotiable in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, and I think a big problem is we don't recognize the dysregulation as such because we're so used to it. We just it's like a way that we're so accustomed to being, right? And I think that, one thing if we look at this, and part of what I love about this conversation, those of you listening, we're really talking about spirituality and science, these things that we sometimes have thought are very separate from each other, even at odds with each other. It's actually not true at all from my perspective, right? We're talking about how these are how they integrate, they are one and the same. And yes, having said all of that, this is what I wanted to speak to. When we look at this from a scientific perspective, we know when we are in when we are in a parasympathetic nervous system state, right? When we have better regulation, we have full, more access to that prefrontal cortex, which is where creativity exists,
Mm.
which is where planning and strategy exists. So how ironic, right? That when we're talking about this idea of being with the moments and what feels good to me in this moment and how can I be with this moment, that is what brings that regulation, that self-connection with then which then allows that access to the prefrontal cortex where planning happens, right? So it's such an interesting paradox in that way.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, this is an important thing to remember, Marty, right? So this world that we operate within, this construct of society, particularly Western society, is not reality. It's the best we've had to get us to the place we're at now. There are parts of it that are good and work, and there are parts of it that don't. And we're really learning that. We're sort of breaking ground on a new level of understanding now. And when I talked about that spiral effect, this dysregulation that's happening, that system is designed to amplify that, to keep everyone busy, to keep everyone distracted, to keep everyone in material pursuits, to keep everyone in desire, to keep everyone in polarities. Now, the beautiful thing about nervous system regulation is this: it's universally an amazing practice to have. It doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative, you're
Mm-hmm.
vegan or a meat eater, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, it does not matter. Universally, this understanding that calming your nervous system, learning to create regulation within yourself, not to cope, but in a knowingness that then that's going to start to amplify your authenticity, your truth, your passions, and start to make your life better. It's tangible. And the
Mm-hmm.
results we have with this are remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the bigger picture is here, which I've not talked about too much, is humanity's collective dysregulation is why we're seeing the division. It's not about opinion. It's about people's state of beingness. It's about where people are right now. That's why we're seeing fear amplified in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Coherence with the individual equals coherence with the collective.
Mm-hmm.
So if your temptation right now is to take a side or to make a placard or go to a protest or do a march, the single biggest way you can change the course and path for humanity is to raise your consciousness and regulate your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a million times more profound in terms of the energy that that will give to our planet,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
we are in the hangover of the old world. That's what's happening. That's why the chaos is happening. And the way to succeed in the old world was to force things, and the way you force things is through power, and that is where we all get frazzled collectively and individually. That you know you can't have a regulated nervous system where you're trying to control everything, where you're trying to predict outcomes, where you're trying to predict how the future is, why you're trying to stave off things happening to you, why you're trying to keep yourself safe.
Mm-hmm.
It the collective that we're going through right now is the microcosm of the macrocosm of the microcosm. That's what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, as you were speaking, I was just thinking about how, yes, because if we're all in this dysregulated state and we're all therefore, as you said, we're trying to stay safe, right? We try to do all these things and to, what's the word? Just like control what's around us to fix everything so that we can have a sense of safety when actually creating safety in our body now, creating the safety here is really what is going to and what does allow us to move in the world in a way that really not just creates the experience we want, but I think can ultimately heal our world and create the unity that we're seeking.
Yeah, and look, this has been taught for, if you go back to the Vedic texts, the Upanishads, the Tao Te Ching, this is all is self, all is an expression of your consciousness. So how
Mhm.
you feel the world is, the world will be. It's very simple. And
Mhm.
then if you even look at more sort of modern spiritual teachers, so Dr. David Hawkins, who created the map of consciousness, which many people will know on this podcast, he suggested that if you were calibrating at a level of love on his scale, which was 500 on the Hawkins scale, you would affect over 500,000 people around you just as a consequence of being in that energy.
Mm.
So just imagine how profound that is. And people will say, well, that's a load of gobbledygook or whatever. But look at the profound nature of Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and Zoroaster and Mary Magdalene and Mother Teresa and all these great Ramana Maharshi, more recent, all these great sages and avatars that have walked the planet. They changed the world as a consequence of that which they become, not
Mm.
of that which they're trying to be. And how do they do that? Well, if let's take, not becoming religious on this, but let's take Jesus as an example. So if you to have a conversation with Jesus now in the form of a flesh, he would just see the perfection of everything unraveling as it's supposed to at the highest level of consciousness. Like a rose in bloom where the bees are feeding off the rose in its perfection and it looks absolutely beautiful is 100% imperfection. A rose that's wilted and died in the wintertime back to the ground is 100% in its perfection. There's no difference. So the point being is this, that the world is going to keep on worlding. It is what it is. It's a reflection of the collective consciousness, and it's a reflection of your perception. Your job here as a creator and as a spark of the divine is to have an amazing life, be boundless, be free, be happy, be abundant. How you do that is you stop getting caught in the traps of the past, the future, the narratives, the collective energy, and you raise your consciousness by regulating your nervous system, by practicing non reaction, by creating a world class self concept. And the world outside will reflect back to you that which you become as a consequence of doing that.
Mhm. Oh my gosh, I have so many things I want to say. I feel like we could talk for a very long time.
we could we could do this for hours, right?
I
I don't.
know.
Forgive me. I go down these rabbit holes a little bit in my own
No,
mind, but I
no,
can't
I mean
stop.
it's I love all of it, and I just and what came to me, and this may seem like I'm oversimplifying this, but as you're talking, it's like we're all listening, right, and thinking about the huge ripple effect, right? The big impact. And we're really talking about this as a big thing, which it is. I believe 100% that it is. And even if we take, like all of you thinking about that one tiny moment, that tiny moment where you have greater regulation. Like for me, I can think of those tiny moments with my 14-year-old daughter when she is feeling out of control of her own emotions, when she is up, she is down, she is sad, whatever she has going on. And when I think about even in that small moment, for me to be able to be with her, to be present with her, to be steady with her, what an impact it has on this little girl, this little human being who is developing,
Huge.
right? And it just has such a profound effect, even if just on her. And so we can think about this, and I do believe 100% that the impact as we lean into this and open up to this is bigger than any of us can imagine. I genuinely believe that. And even if it were just that moment in time, what a good idea, right? What a good investment of leaning into it.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Let's just say, like, and I don't, hypothetically speaking, right? So I don't believe this at all because I do 100% genuinely believe that we are eternal beings. We're a spark of the divine. all of the things we have wrong with our nervous systems and our fears are just about fear of death, which means we're not fully walking in faith through understanding, which is that's just the process that we go through. But let's say for a moment that all of this universe, God, everything, it was all a load of garbage, right? The whole thing was, let's just say hypothetical, but everybody on the planet sort of had this revelation and decided, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to regulate my nervous system, raise my consciousness through understanding more about who I am, practice non-reaction wherever I can. So always lead with kindness and understanding, both for how I feel about myself and what happens outside of me. Someone cuts me up in traffic. I'm going to understand that everybody is part of me and a reflection of me. So everything that shows up in my reality is part of me because I'm the ever present is that I'm there. Every situation that happens in my life is I'm there. And I started to live by this. And let's say maybe half of the global population decided through some revelation that happened that we were going to live by this. Well, what would happen to the world immediately? It doesn't require more belief beyond that.
Hmm.
Actually, we descend into the like seventh dimension immediately. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. But that's what I'm trying to make people understand that heaven on earth is here now. It's it's a perception, it's a belief, it's who you believe you are. And we're all going to get there. But it's how long you want to kick and scream your way to that ascension. It's up to you. Like the kingdom of heaven is truly within you right now.
Hmm.
So when do you decide it's time? Because this is the challenge, right? So all of your problems, all of your issues, all of the things you're going through, everything you face in your life, the one constant is you're always there.
Hmm.
If we turn off your consciousness, there's no universe. So there's a clue in that. So how about make yourself really happy and calm and uplifted and non-reactive and say, well, I have no idea why I'm going through this proverbial show at the moment. But what I do know is I'm always here. Like I'm conscious awareness. And I know that if I just meet everything with love, square everything with love, it'll be okay.
Hmm. And when you were saying like the kingdom of heaven is like here, right? It's here now, it's in us.
It is
And it's in the moments, like in the moments. It can be there in the
100%.
moments right now. I know that I wish I had the exact phrase, but I know one of the meditations that I listen to and in one of the things of yours that I subscribe to, it's you are allowed to change your life in one decision or
Yeah.
something like that, right? And you
Well,
say
one
it every
decision away from a completely
one.
new life.
Yeah, a completely new life.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why the chaos is happening outside at the moment because we're
Mm-hmm.
all waking up to the fact that we live in an insane world. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what would be great to tune into next, so what are the solutions to this, right? So how do we move to that understanding and how do we birth that new world for ourselves and everybody around us? I think,
Mm-hmm.
we can both wax lyrical about that until the cows come home because that's what we do, right? This is our crusade.
Yes, yes,
This is the hill we stand on.
yes.
This
That's
is our
right.
truth,
That's right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I think few things to people to understand would be great. The first one for me is you cannot build abundance on top of stress,
Mm-hmm.
but you do not need to understand why you're stressed,
That
right?
right there. You don't
That's
have to
it.
figure it out. You don't have to
No,
solve for it. You don't have to get
let it
lost in
go.
the rabbit hole.
Let it go. Yeah,
That's right.
non-reaction is your superpower.
Yes,
So,
I love it. Yes.
yeah. So restore safety in your body first, and then expansion happens for expansion's sake. It
Mm-hmm.
just happens. It's an happening. It's not a doing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is sort of small practices all the time, mini gratitude bonds, just holding your nervous system. You don't have to go to Bali retreats or do plant medicine or go and do headstands at 5 a.m. in the sunset in Sedona. You don't have to do any of that. That's great. That's amazing. No judgment. They will help you because they help you have profound experiences, but it's small moments of gratitude, small moments of trust, small moments of making a different decision, small moments of regulating a nervous system, small moments when you're really angry, choosing differently. going and making a cup of tea, screaming in the forest, or as opposed to going on those thought trains you usually go on. Um, Understanding that your nervous system is the only game in town. This is
Mm-hmm.
it. Like being 100% responsibility for 100% responsible for how you feel is the only game in town.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are not willing to change how you feel and to change the energy that's within you, that ultimately on even on a very deep subconscious level is from a position of victimhood, is because you don't want to on some level.
Mm.
And that's not to like berate people, but it's to say, well, where am I not
Mm-hmm.
taking 100% responsibility for how I
Mm-hmm.
feel?
Mm-hmm.
Because no one can take that away from you.
And I think when we create that safety within ourself, that relationship with self, that safety in the body, it becomes much easier to be honest with ourselves about what we see in our ways of thinking or what we're hanging on to.
Yeah. And a new capacity comes from expansion, because the universe abhors vacuums. Everything in our whole creation, and we can say that to, I mean, when you think about it, there are more planets and stars in our known universe and our galaxy than there are grains of sand on all of our beaches.
Mm,
Think about that for a second. If you hold a grain of sand, that's kind of what planet Earth is and where we're here. So there's such a profound significance and perfection to everything that we're experiencing in every moment. And we're all trying to like control and manipulate outcomes. And you have to understand that the currency that you have that can change planets, that can move galaxies, is your belief systems, your self-concept, how you feel. And you're right, we talked about inspiration and inspired action. That only comes from emptying that vacuum. If your vacuum is filled with fear, anxiety, worry, stress, drama, there's no space for new capacity. So, what God, the universe, the divine, whoever you identify with, is saying, I will give you more, but you need to empty the vacuum of that which you are not.
mm,
You need to create the space and open up to more potential. And you don't do that through hard work, endeavor, toil, sacrifice, this veiled illusion that we have to try more, be more, wait for the perfect time. You do that by emptying the vacuum, because every space in the universe is filled. Everything in the universe is in relationship. There's nothing not in relationship to something else. If that vacuum becomes empty or filled with hope or filled with neutrality, even, better things will start to show up.
mm. I love that. This is the perfect, I feel like this is just the perfect point to end on. I do want to, in just a minute, have you share where people can find you, of course, and follow your work. And the one thing I'll say as we're wrapping this up is just, um, I just think what a gift that we are here where when we are at this time. What a gift that we have this understanding, this knowledge, and the ability to be able to regulate ourselves, to better connect with ourselves, to better know ourselves, and to do that in our work to make a difference, because it truly is a unique time to do that. And I feel really grateful to be a small part of it. So,
Yeah,
okay.
100%.
So
100%.
thank you so much. Tell my listeners, where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, so my platform is at Abundance Alchemist on Instagram, mainly Instagram and Facebook at the moment. The one thing I'd leave your followers with is that coherence is the new wealth, and if you can understand that, you're going to change the whole world for yourself and everyone around you. So yeah,
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
you're
Um,
so welcome. Great to be
and
here.
yeah, so good to
You're
have
amazing,
you.
Molly. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you for being here with us today. And I'll talk with you next week. Have a good one. Thanks for being here and for investing this time in you. Keep showing up. keep meeting yourself with compassion. That's truly what life mastery is all about. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And I would be honored if you would take the time to leave me a review. This ensures that this important work will get in the hands of more people. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, join me at mollyclaire.com where you can find all of the ways we can work together. I'll talk with you next week.